If you're not learning, you're losing. I'm David Atanasio with Think the Chart, and I'm going to show you a high-level journaling framework that will allow you to progress consistently as rapidly as daily. This framework is something I wish I had when I was stagnating in technical and psychological performance and basically not making any strides towards profitability. I was trading in circles, wasting a lot of my time and a lot of my money, not getting into the nitty-gritty of why I was making certain decisions, how often I was making those good or bad decisions, and what results they were yielding, and how to move past them. That is something that I have learned to be vital to my success today. Watch this entire video and adopt my framework and apply it. Apply it intentionally. Journal intentionally. And you will see how you will just self-sufficiently start making strides in your game. You will think better, you will chart better, everything will improve, and it'll be your own work because only you know you. Journaling cannot be as simple as just putting in your entries and your exits and voila, and giving a little 2-sentence rebuttal to it. No, you have to really get down to all of the things that influence your thought process, your decision making, your emotions. You need to have all of those things acknowledged, recorded, and observing which results those are yielding. Because that's the only way you'll have enough introspection to progress, because you're the only one trading. There's a big difference between the lights on your gauge cluster in your car that just says you need gas or you need air in your tire, and then actually taking it to the mechanic and seeing, oh shoot, I need gas so much because my oil's low or my tires are misaligned, right? And there's a difference between, oh, my tire's low because whatever, or oh no, they're new tires, oh, it's because I have a nail in there. You have to get under the hood. You have to get the car up on the lift and see the inner workings of why things are not going the way they need to be going. All right, so let's get into this. My framework is composed of 3 parts. The first one, the most fundamental, is going to be the quality of decision making. So the first thing I always do is I review the chart alongside my executions. Then I determine which trades I would take again if I could do it all over again. Then I document which technicals and psychology factored me in to those particular trades. Then I start to consider which variables were happening off the chart, such as limiting beliefs or pressure to get this account up higher and past the eval, or are there any issues happening off the charts, any family things, any stress, right? Typically not really, but these are things that have affected me and many others in the past. So it's very important to use these metrics and measure them against our trading and the results. So once you've done that and determined the quality of your decision making, you can now move on to the next step, which is keeping score. What does that mean? It means that we're going to go on to our platforms. It could be TradeZella, or it could be if your platform already journals for you or records your trades and your executions, which it should. You're going to check those, and you are going to look at your system, look at your rules, and stack up how many executions you made that were within your rules. So were you trading at the right time? Were you trading the right amount of times? Were you using the right amount of risk? How many setups did I take within my system? What you're going to do is you're going to say, okay, out of 10 times, I followed this rule, that rule, or the next rule 3 out of 10 times. And you're going to see, okay, what's the discrepancy between wins and losses based on those metrics that I am fulfilling or not fulfilling. The reason that is such a vital part to the framework is because you are taking yourself out of the equation and letting the numbers speak for themselves. So you're saying, okay, out of these 10 trades, I did it completely correctly 1 time. And that 1 time was my best winner. What if I did it 10 out of 10 times? How many of these trades could I have just waited and followed my rules perfectly? Wow, I would have been extremely successful 8 out of those 10 trades, right? That is vastly better than the 1 time, obviously. So then let's talk about the game winner here. This is what's going to make all the difference now, the adjustments. You're now taking the subjective information, the objective information. You're then going to say, here's what we're going to change, right? This is where you pivot. This is where you start progressing daily, because you're saying, today I let fear take me out of a trade that would have gone double than what I exited for. Tomorrow I will be fearless. How will I be fearless? I will let the chart keep me in, right? I will set a trail stop instead of just getting out randomly, right? You're declaring a change. You're then declaring how you will make that change. Defining how you'll make that change, I should better say. That's how you make the progress. You give yourself an actionable plan to move forward as soon as the next day or even the next trade, if you can journal that fast. You can truly make adjustments by saying, I FOMO'd into that trade. Tomorrow, I'm going to come back better with no FOMO by understanding that the trades will come to me and that I don't have to chase. Okay, boom, there you go. Now you're counteracting the FOMO that got you into a loser, and you're using patience to get you into a winner. I promise you, out of 10 times you choose patience, more than 5 of those times you will be successful. You will be successful. But you can only achieve those things when you start to look at yourself. And then once you're done looking at yourself, you start saying, I'm going to change. So here's my own journal in my Discord. And so we can see here that I did a journal entry with this exact framework. And I'm going to not read the whole thing, but concisely, you guys can pause it and read the whole thing if you'd like. But I'm going to concisely give you the Spark Notes hitting on all our key points here. So, the quality of my decision making was admittedly noticeably lower than usual. I was growing frustrated with a choppy price action day after day, right? I'm factoring in the technicals here, and I'm giving myself like a rating, right? It's lower than usual. A lot of my positions were early winners that failed. Ultimately, I'm holding myself accountable for allowing the consolidation to sway my actions, right? I'm being honest. And I'm saying, yeah, like, I made mistakes because I hated the fact that we were not doing clean trends, right? So that's something I have to progress towards or above. The common theme here is that I was overdoing certain things, so I must keep score and see how those actions resulted in trading outside of my system and the result. So, over trading. My cutoff time was supposed to be 11:30. This week, I went past that by as few as 30 minutes up to almost 4 hours. We can't have that. And so we can see here that the only time I did that, or the only time I stayed within that 11:30 range, and I got up off the charts, that was my most profitable day, while also taking the least number of trades, right? Less is more. The other 4 days saw big swings in my P&L and unnecessary losses, showing clear signs of tilt. Okay, another factor, breach of daily loss limit. My loss limit is 20% of my trailing drawdown, and this rule is non-negotiable. Even violating it once is a big deal and an immediate call to step back and center myself. So I remember this week I had hit my loss limit on that Thursday, and then I actually went over it on that Friday, as we see here. I lost an extra 15% on top of my 20% limit. That's really bad. So I allowed 1 day to equal over 1.5 days of losing. So the proper adjustments is going to be that I'm going to focus on higher quality trades in that strict 2-hour window, because it proves to be a profitable habit and prevents me from going on tilt. That tilt can spill into the next day and the day after that, so we want to counteract that. The goal is to leave the charts by 11:30 a.m., a minimum of 3 days this week. So I'm actually giving myself a way to keep that score. I'm saying, okay, this happened to be a 4-day week, and I said, all right, well, at least 3 of those, 75% of them, let's make sure that we are following this rule to see if I follow my rules 75% of the time, let's see how profitable I can be. And I did say, although I will strive to accomplish this every day, because we wanna go above and beyond our goals, because we are trying to make our dreams come true here. So yeah, and then the next point was here: make sure no day exceeds that limit by preserving my mental environment and upholding profitable decision making. Right, quality of decision making, tying that back in. Another adjustment here was that I cut my limit in half, my loss limit in half to 10% on Fridays, because I observed that I have hit that limit each of the last 4. So that was a month of Fridays that I was just hitting my limit every single time. So I said, all right, I would have saved an extra $1,200 in this account if I had just cut the limit in half. So let's one, trade better, and two, make sure I'm risking only half of what I usually do on those Fridays, knowing that that's my worst day. The execution of these adjustments will preserve both my mental environment and my account balance. That's very important. I'll report back with how well I applied these changes, what results they yielded monetarily and mentally. And I think I did do that down here. Let's see. Yes, right here. End of the last week, break even on the 50K and up big on the 150K. My trade volume went down significantly into much healthier levels, as I was much more selective and efficient with the positions I put on. With respect to last week's adjustments, I am happy to report that I was off the charts by 11:30 every day, had no days exceeding my loss limit, and had my first green Friday in over a month after cutting my risk in half. A stellar week process-wise that allowed me to make great progress seamlessly. See, I'm putting it to work, and it is working. You see, quality decision making, keeping that score, making the adjustments led to a stellar week, and it's not by accident, right? Intentional adjustments leading to results. Now, all this is fine and dandy, but you have to really believe this works. And if you won't take my word for it, take God's word for it. All right? I have a couple verses here that will help you understand why you need to be diligent, disciplined, and wise in trading. And there's some great instructions here in just the book of Proverbs, a few verses here that will really, really drive that point home. So let's get into it. So let's take a look at here, Proverbs 10, verse 4 and 5. He who has a slack hand becomes poor, but the hand of the diligent makes rich. He who gathers in summer is a wise son. He who sleeps in harvest is a son who causes shame. How does that relate to journaling? If you are not journaling intentionally, right? If you're not being diligent with this, you're not going to make any progress. This is the whole point of the video. If you're not learning, you're losing. You need to be diligent in your learning. You need to be active, proactive in figuring out what's working and what's not working. Because if you just come onto the chart, take some trades, and then you win or you lose, and then you go and have fun with the rest of your day, what progress are you making? You need to sit down and take a second and really get into what's working and what's not working. Just a little later in the chapter, Proverbs 10, verses 13 and 14. Wisdom is found on the lips of him who has understanding, but a rod is for the back of him who is devoid of understanding. You got to understand what you're doing here. Verse 14. Wise people store up knowledge, but the mouth of the foolish is near destruction. Store up knowledge. Build upon what you have learned. Your experience cannot be for nothing. Trust me, I know. I was trading for several years doing the opposite of that. I was just trading and just losing and not figuring out why, and I hated it, and I would forget my strategy, and I would quit trading for a little bit. I wasn't storing up any knowledge. It was when I started picking up my journal here and writing in years of crazy information, storing up knowledge. That's how I was able to use my bad experiences, my good experiences, and everything in between as a staircase, right? Because that's the way to do it. That's just the way life works. And hey, Solomon, inspired by God, is telling us these same things. So it's not just me here. All right, so let's drive the point home. Let's go over the framework one more time. Number 1, quality of decision making. Number 2, keeping score. Number 3, adjustments, right? Subjective with how am I doing? Objective information, how am I actually doing? Making adjustments, what am I going to do next? What am I going to do better? Right? Do these things and you will make trading feel much less impossible than it might feel right now. Is it always going to be hard? Yes. You'll never know exactly what's going to happen. And even if you're right, sometimes you're wrong. But there is a way to be consistent, to be profitable, and this is a great step in the right direction. You can take things into your own hands by coming back better, even if it's 1% every day. 1% better, and you'll be 365% better by next year if we follow those metrics. You should rather do that than be slacking in your intentional journaling. So instead of coming out on here and telling you guys the problem, I'm giving you guys a solution. Take it, apply it. Let me know in the comments how you guys feel after a week or 2 weeks of using it. I would love to see your results. So, thank you for watching. Again, this is David Atanasio with Think the Chart. Apply these things.